So then if we look at the software systems context, the software systems are an increasing part of life, from business applications to healthcare systems to consumer products, etc. So now we cannot even imagine that if there is no software, obviously our lives will be very measurable, because nowadays all the softwares will become an integral part of our human lives. So we cannot even sleep without the mobile. So mobile is having some kind of software in it. So that the way we can understand the importance of the software. So we are developing the software for any kind of domains. There are so many domains. We know that the different domains like banking, finance, insurance, healthcare, defense, avionics, aeronautical, retail, educational, e-commerce, these all various domains available in the market. So the testing will need to be done for any kind of software which is targeted to implement for either of the domains. Now, out of these all domains, if we look at, there are so many safety critical softwares. That means that healthcare, defense, aeronautical, those kind of softwares will be having very sensitive functionalities, and those will be creating a lot of problems if we don't implement it well. So for such kind of safety critical projects, we'll have to test it very thoroughly. Then only we can ensure that the application is working fine. So that is the importance of the systems context to consider while we are doing the testing. Software that does not work correctly can lead to many problems, including loss of money, time, or business reputation, and could even cause injury or death. So now we can just imagine if any healthcare application is not working properly. Here healthcare application means, you just imagine that the application which is being used by the doctors while they do the surgery. So at that time, if application is error prone, then obviously that creates impact on the patient. So that the way actually that creates the death problem for him. So at time the software will cause the problem of the software will cause the injury or death of a person even. Obviously, if the economical kind of the commercial kind of applications will get filled in the market, those will give the economical losses. Relatively, the reputation of the business will be spoiled. So these all various threats to the companies. That is the reason. So every company has to take care the application by testing in very well manner. Then only we can deliver the quality product to the market. Now we try to look at one jargon, that is bug. We keep on saying errors or else problems or else defects in the application. What exactly the problem is, what exactly the defect is, what exactly the error is. So we usually use the terms like the bug, a generic term for defect, fault or failure. So we use these all jargons as like synonyms to one of the another. But if we technically look at the differences between these all things, so definitely there is a difference. So we should definitely understand how the way we need to look at them, and we need to use in appropriate places. Let's start with the first jargon, that is error. So we all know error or mistake. So usually a human action that produces an incorrect result. While we do something or while we are doing something, we may do some kind of mistakes because of we are humans. So with the intervention of ourself, if anything happens wrong, we can call that as error or mistake. So now we just apply this thing on the software. So software usually written by the developers. Developer will write the code. While he or she is writing the code, obviously he or she writes lines of code. If there is any syntax deviation or else logical deviation or else any other problems in the program, we usually say those as errors. So whatever the deviation we can observe on the code, those will be called as errors. Then what is fault? A manifestation of an error in software. That means that we already discussed what is an error. Error means that some kind of deviation on the code. For an example, we just think that or assume that while we are reviewing the code, we overlooked some kind of error in it. That is the reason we might not be able to identify the error and be able to fix it. Now, after you deployed that into the testing server and provide the application to the test engineer, the same error will be carried to the application. That means that whatever the error in the program, that will be leaked to the application now. So if any test engineer exercise the respective functionality which has that error, so obviously that functionality will deviate from its actual behavior. The time when it deviates from its own behavior, that time we'll call that as defect or fault or bug. So simply a manifestation of an error in the software will be called as bug or defect or fault. It is simply if there is any deviation from the expected result of the customer on the application, that will be called as fault. Then the next jargon, failure. It is nothing but, so you just now imagine that even on the application also as a test engineer you fail to identify such defect. Then you then what happens, obviously that defect hidden in the application. So by overlooking of that defect, then you are delivering it to the end market. That means releasing it in the market. Then that time end user will exercise the application. While the end user is exercising that application, if he encounters that, that means that if the application deviates from the end user's expectation, that time we'll call that as a failure. Failure is nothing but deviation of the software from its expected delivery or service. So we call that as failure. Failure will always be happened at the end user side. That means that after releasing of the product to the market, if any end user exercise the application, if he finds out any deviation from his expectation, that will be called as failure. So as a developer, he always needs to use the term as error. As a test engineer, we always use the term as false, defect or bug. So failure will always be used by the end users or else the company. So simply if we conclude this, failure is an event. Fault is a state of the software caused by an error.